Hey class, so I wanted to show you how you can find your objectives in your textbook. I have been unable to find one resource from the Macmillan publisher that puts all of these key concepts and guiding questions into one document for you to reference. So, the goal is to read your book and highlight and take notes. So that is a good example of how you can do that. What I've done is I brought up the e-text version from Macmillan. I did have access to that. And when you turn to the chapter, so for example, we're in chapter 6, and there are two sections. The 6.1 is these freshwater resources section. So when you open up every chapter, you would have this opening page, which has some image, and it will have a core message. Of course, it'll be structured a little different formatting in your textbook than it is for this e-text. But this is the core message for section 6.1, the idea that fresh water is precious, but it's also limited. And what I want you to point out here is under each one of these beginning sections, so for example, 6.1 here, it lists 8 study questions. Like when you get done reading 6.1, you ought to be able to answer these questions. So for example, the first one, how is water distributed and what are our sources? So there are some images, as this talks about, infographics and key concepts. Make sure you're looking at all the images and pictures through this textbook. So the infographics point out that, of all the water on the planet, only 97% of it is salt water. That leaves only 3% to be fresh water. But of that fresh water, only like 0.1, actually less than that, is available for drinking. 60% of all the fresh water is locked up in glaciers, and although melting is happening, where we get our water to drink is through groundwater. We can't just get it from the lakes and the rivers. We would need to filter it and treat it, and that's what percolating through the ground does. So we stick these pipes down into the ground and we extract groundwater. That is where we get our drinking water. And of course, you're going to watch a film on that as well. So these are the 8 guiding questions, and as you read through the chapter, so for example, when you actually get into this first subsection, each one of these has a key concept. So key concept 1, it's not exactly the same wording as the guiding question number 1, but it opens the doorway to, the concept here is only 3% of water is fresh, and of that, only a very small percentage is actually available for the drinking. And that's what this infographic supports. So let these in your textbook guide you so that when you get to the very end, you should be able to answer. I'm going to jump ahead here. Your textbook ends up with these questions at the end that you can practice, and some science literacy that goes along with that as well. So, all right, hopefully that'll help you guide yourself on your studies.